All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. Thank whoever brought you here for the first time. To my regular listeners, you've hit the play button, so you know what's about to go down now. Whatever the challenge is, whatever the obstacle is, whatever it is you are going through and you're feeling like, hey man, I just need some guidance. We are here to indirectly tell you you are not going through that alone. Today, I have someone that I refer to as the serial tech entrepreneur, and I want to make sure I'm saying that very clearly. Entrepreneur, because he deals with people and he taught himself how to use technology to his benefit and how it benefited him and a lot of the people that are around him. He's been through a lot of ups and downs. Have seen a lot of great things. So I'm really, really excited to have you on the show today. Tim Branyan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I'm really pumped to be here and just try to be a value to everybody who's listening. So thank you for the opportunity to be on here and excited to develop the relationship and ultimately just be a service, man.
Yes, and again, there's a lot of ground we have to cover in terms of what we're going to be talking about today. From you actually first of all, learning how to be in tech, and then investing in it, getting burned, losing money, gaining that money back. Getting a letter from Facebook, all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff we have to cover, but I'd like to start where you grew up in Indiana, because as you had mentioned, you didn't see, you weren't around that team atmosphere until maybe you joined I believe it was the Air Force, and then certain things started to become open, like, oh, your eyes sort of opened up to a lot of different opportunities. So kind of talk a little bit about your background a little bit, and then we'll get into some of the work you're doing.
Yeah. I grew up in a small town called Kokomo, not the island, but in the Midwest. We're mostly surrounded by corn out here, but I promise there's a lot more cool stuff happening out here in the Midwest.
Yes,
Um,
so I am a Michigan football fan. So
yeah, there you go. So, uh, I grew up here in Kokomo, Indiana. Um, great family, low middle class. We had love in the family, didn't have a lot of dollars,
hmm
but we made things work. And really, if it was meant to be, it was up to me early on. So if I wanted the car, if I wanted the shoes or the clothes or the stylish things I wanted to wear,
hmm
I had to work for it or I had to create something and earn it. Um, that was probably the catalyst to my entrepreneur sort of like
Hmm.
desires. In high school, my first hustle was soft modding Xboxes. I saw the market and people wanted uh, people people wanted to play games, and I found a way that you could soft mod an Xbox and sell games, and then also kind of unlock the Xbox's ability to surf the internet and
The
play.
console? You were selling the
Yeah,
console?
the actual. So
Oh,
the the
snap.
the system was someone would soft mod their Xbox box. They had to ride my bus. I didn't have a car at the time.
All
They'd
right.
ride my bus, drop off the Xbox. It was $100 to put the soft mod on, and
hmm
that would unlock their Xbox to be able to again search the internet, play
Oh,
emulators,
snap.
so like Sega, Dreamcast, all these different games. And then the
Whoa.
residual component was uh, I would take requests if somebody wanted like the new Madden or new games. I would go
Yeah.
to Family Video. Nothing about this is legal, by the way. Luckily, this was before I was an adult.
Do what
But
you gotta do.
yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I knew that there was a desire in the market. So I
All right.
would I would take requests from school. I would go to Family Video. I would burn the games and be able to sell the games at a lower price
Yeah.
to the students in school. So that again, and that was awesome. I made good money,
hmm
but it was a great experience to learn about, the market and then solving a problem or again, nothing about that was legal or
Right.
or ethical, but I filled a gap, filled a solution. So um let's see. Fast forward, I was never the best student
hmm
in like the school environment, but I love sports. I learned a ton in sports, played football and soccer,
hmm
and I feel like I retained a lot of the lessons there. I was fortunate to have great coaches.
hmm
After high school, I wasn't going anywhere fast, kind of restless and discontent. I was chasing the party scene, chasing chicks, and ultimately, um, the military made sense. I kind of wasted away some of the opportunities. I could have went and played sports, and I'm
Right.
really thankful for that looking back, because that opened up the door to the military. So joined a team that I really got a lot more out of it than I initially anticipated. I joined for the benefits. I joined for the money that I could make. I joined for the skills that I could develop and the potential traveling and whatnot. And what I got out of it was a lot of characteristics like discipline, commitment, hard work.
Hmm.
They call it the service for a reason, man. I mean, it can be taxing.
Right.
So went to good places, went to bad places. Fast forward um, through that, I got injured on my third deployment, blew out my right knee, wasn't able to reenlist, tried to go to school, was super just depressed in school. That led me to change direction. I went and did similar work. I was a military police officer. I did similar work
Hmm.
as a contractor overseas, was in Kuwait and Dubai for like 3.5 years, made really good money, got to travel all over the place in that role. And but it wasn't long after that I was just like, okay, well, how do I own my life? How do I own my time? And that's where I really started to get aggressively curious with, okay, what makes sense for how I want to be paid, both from a time standpoint and a dollar standpoint. Software made sense. So just started failing
So
forward from there.
then the reason I'm glad you gave us that backstory, because whether it's you as an athlete, whether you're putting out I don't know, soft developing Xboxes, or even the work in the service, work ethic is kind of the main common denominator through all of that. So when you talk about, all right, you're gonna figure out what it is you're gonna do, and you're thinking about time and money, and you ultimately land on tech, what's the
Mhm.
first step that you take towards learning and mastering the tech world? Because one of the things that I truly was shocked about when I was listening to your story is that you don't have a background in this. And anybody that knows me knows that whenever you talk tech to me, I get really intimidated. I don't touch it. I try to hire it out. I want somebody else to do it, because you're one of the people that actually had to learn it on their own. So can you speak on kind
Sure.
of the first step that he took, but then also how maybe some of the work ethic that you had growing up was able to get you through those tough days where
Mm.
maybe feel like doing this, maybe not feel like doing that, all that good stuff.
Yeah. I I think the first step was just being fascinated with it.
Yeah.
And fascinated and just high level of belief. I was fascinated because I knew what I wanted. I didn't
Mhm.
want something that was gonna take my time and my life.
Yeah.
There's I guess these factors that mattered to me, like as I was exploring what businesses made sense.
Yeah.
So for me, I wanted freedom and flexibility. I didn't want something that was, I could make a ton of money with, but I wasn't going to own my life or my time. I wanted something flexible and adaptable. I didn't envision having a bunch of employees or people to manage.
Hmm.
That to me seemed like it could be a recipe for some chaos, and I was trying to avoid chaos while increasing the amount of dollars I could create. So the fascination was, I think software makes sense. It
Hmm.
seems like it can pay me on all these different pillars that are important to me,
Right.
and it would give me that freedom and flexibility while also creating a global business. So
Right.
that was part of the fascination, and the belief was instilled after, kind of proving those things, looking at other platforms and better understanding
Right.
what they cost. But the truth is, man, it was just like step one was just belief and
Right.
fascination. And
Yeah.
then what came after that was, okay, I know what I don't know. I know that I can't write code. So
Yeah.
I need a partner. I need somebody that can do this. So the next thing was, okay, who do I need to know?
Yeah.
And if I could go back in time, which I wouldn't, but if I could, I would, I wouldn't want to change the trajectory of where I'm at now and all that learning that came through it. But like if I could give some suggestions maybe to somebody that's interested in getting in the tech field, kind of reverse it where instead of you go out to the market and you cast a net like, hey, I want to build a software,
Hmm.
who can do this? Just go find somebody that's already done it one, two, 10, 100 times, and then ask them who they work with. And then you'll align a little faster with a process to bringing your idea to fruition, or at least, you can avoid some of the pitfalls that I didn't, which was being scammed and running into the wrong team and spinning my tires in the mud of time
Hmm.
and cost to better develop a system. So that's kind of an overview, I
Yeah, and
guess.
well, I'm glad you broke it down like that, because one of the things that I actually did too is the first company I started is called gym44.com. And the vision for me was to create a kind of a pro like a Facebook type website where coaches can log into their profile, post a tryout, and there's a button where it's request and reserve, and players can see where the tryout is. If they can't make it, they'll request, and that dictates the next post. So, it was
Mm,
really complex. I had the vision for it, but I had to pay close to $10,000 to find a custom developer and do this, to write code and all that kind of stuff. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because when you finally landed on something that I thought was actually brilliant was you had an Instagram, I guess a way of using Instagram where people can tap folks on the shoulder, do their research on folks, and all of a sudden you get a cease and desist from Facebook, which I didn't really understand how that actually happened. So I'd love for you to dive into that specific venture because you never know. I mean, again, you're doing this to help people, and all of a sudden now you're not allowed to do it, and it's really not clear as to what the issue was.
sure. Yeah. So, again, I've been through a lot of things that that hope can be helpful or some,
Hmm.
things what not to do. I can tell you that. So, um, yeah, I've first off, I've never set out to have a great idea. I've
Hmm.
always just been really good at seeing where things suck or seeing where there could be improvements or seeing where maybe there's gaps or opportunities. And that's a really kind of key tip is to, get involved with other people's processes or systems or just be aware, be
Right.
visually aware and listen and with the intent to serve or solve problems. And tech's definitely a viable solution for that, but it's not the only way that you can fill gaps and solve problems.
Hmm.
As far as the first platform that we saw success with was a tool called Rocket Grow, and at its peak, it was doing a large amount more than I'd ever seen. Um, and we basically the tool, if you can imagine that your social media is like a billboard on the side of the road,
Right.
and you know the internet has all sorts of cars driving down the highway, billions of cars, right? The platform would allow you as a billboard owner or as a profile to tap your ideal person to drive down your highway. And it would do that by automating comments, likes, follows, story views. And you could set up these filters to really tap your ideal person, your driver, to then pass by your billboard or come back to your profile to then
Right.
choose if they wanted to like, comment, message you, click the links on your profile. It did exceptionally well. The
Hmm.
problem that it solved was helping people get more attention and helping people turn that attention into potential income. So whether it was a nonprofit or for profit, it's a really cool uh, platform. So, however, that platform engaged outside of the terms of service
Hmm.
of Facebook. And so we got a letter, and within an hour, we shut everything down. I think it was about an hour. We shut everything down, and
Hmm.
it was a scary letter. It was the first cease and desist I ever had before I knew my rights, before I knew, how to even fight in that arena.
Right.
So quickly kind of scrambled, and then I had a whole team at that point, so it was a really tough conversation with the guys, and mainly my number one question was, okay, who do we want to be? When I
Hmm.
asked the guys, like, who do we want to be? What do we want to do now? Um, so again, I wouldn't change a thing. It taught me what API was. Maybe I could have learned that lesson a little differently,
Right.
but it taught us that adapting and overcoming is hugely important. We knew that as we were building,
Hmm.
but to take an L like that
Right.
and continue on was something that I can be proud of now. But during the time, man, it was pretty devastating to take that gut shot.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, you're doing well. I see that as being something that is trying to help folks, and that's where I want to really emphasize that point. I don't want that to get brushed over. The success comes because he is looking to help somebody else. He's looking
Mm,
to make it so people are filtering out nonsense that they see on Instagram and make it so it's inclusive. And then you take that L, but immediately because you're coming from a place, and this is just my opinion on it, because you're coming from a place in which you're trying to help people,
mm,
then immediately you jump right back and say, hey, we're not giving up. We're not quitting. We were doing something very productive, very positive. Let's figure out what our next step is. So can you take us a little bit on into that conversation where you have kind of described it as one of the most crucial conversations to your business, to where you got that letter, an hour, the money just stops, conversation happens. What came after that? What came after that? I know there were some ups and downs, but there was a lot of obvious option and like let's do this because now the gloves are off. Facebook is telling me, look, I can't do the work.
Yeah.
We got to get it done.
Well, I think, going back in time, we were thinking about, okay, who did we serve? Who did we help? Who's our existing
Yeah.
list
Hmm.
of clients and customers? What's another offer that they would be interested in? What's something that we could serve them with? Okay, we help them create more traffic and awareness for their brand, so we started down that path. And then a lot of it, we basically decided we weren't really interested in even being in that social media world anymore in that capacity or trying to sell somebody growth or things of that nature.
Right.
Because a lot of those tools were in violation, come to find out.
Hmm.
So we really pivoted away from that whole industry and started thinking about, okay, well, what else do people need help with? And we built a platform. We rebuilt a platform that was on the shelf. We called it Lead Feed. And essentially, what it would do is it would look at somebody's website and grade it, go
Hmm.
through all these different SEO sort of metrics and give it a grade, either A plus, excuse me, an F. And it would give those reports out for free to the owner of the website, send them an email, but a portion of it was blurred out until they've submitted their email expressing interest and knowing their full analytical sort of details. Once
Hmm.
we got their email, it had an automated system where we could reach out to that person and connect with them. So it was truly a lead feed.
Hmm.
So we would provide service first, which is value and analysis of somebody's site, show them where they could improve, show them where they're doing great, and it would generate a lead, and then we could then nourish that lead or connect that lead to an offer, maybe for an improved website, something of that nature. But
Right.
we saw the value of selling that tool to internet marketing companies back in the day. So they would white label this tool and use it internal to their business. So we were selling them shovels essentially to go out and do the work as a internet marketing company,
Right.
e-com
And
agency.
well, it's important also too with these companies. One of the things that for you to make it is to have that list of leads. And this is
Mm.
something I had to actually learn the hard way as well, is when you're building your business, whether it is online or whether it's in person, and obviously you're gonna have to have some online presence, but people are actually paying for that list. One of my coach I hired, shout out to Dre Baldwin, he pointed out that Snapchat was offered, I believe, a couple $1 billion from Facebook when they had the stories or whatever it is. But Facebook obviously could have made their stories, but what they wanted was Snapchat's list of people, and
Mm.
that's why they got that offer. So if you're looking to build or you're looking to kind of sell your rent, you have to really focus and dive in on building your email list, a list of consumers, and make sure you're able to track that. And I'm bringing
Definitely.
this all up because the current work you're doing now is actually speaking to that as a creator myself, as people that are influencers and stuff like that. You actually have something, it's called True Fans, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have
So
True Fans where, yeah, I'll let you go ahead and explain it.
yeah. So again, we didn't set out to have a great idea. We just saw who was in the market. We saw
Right,
the negative things that were happening in social media and the creator space, at
right,
least our opinion. So we saw people being demonetized, just completely removed off a platform with no
right,
real customer support, and they're losing their business, sometimes like livelihoods that they'd worked hard to create.
right, exactly.
We
Yeah.
saw censorship, right? So people were being deplatformed or silenced, or what was it called? They're blacklisted basically. They were
Ghosted
muted.
others.
Yeah, yeah. They didn't even know that they were banned. A lot of times it was
Right.
just, their account wasn't performing the same way, or they're not even findable on the searches. It was a
Mhm.
shadow ban.
Hmm.
Um, which we didn't like that either. Uh, and then historically, creators have been undervalued and underpaid.
Hmm.
Until now, it's starting to change now, but I think it was out of necessity because the market demanded that with platforms like mine and
Hmm.
others that are out there in the market. So that's kind of the other point. We looked at what was in the market. We saw OnlyFans, we saw Patreon, we saw Coffee, we saw these others that were here today, gone tomorrow,
Hmm.
and they are predominantly adult centered. And we thought, okay, here's what we can do. We can pay more, we can pay faster, we can be 100% invite only,
Hmm.
and we're not going to allow adult content. We're going to be a wholesome alternative for creators that want to make money but don't want the stigma. And it
Right.
worked like crazy. We got lucky. We launched right at the start of the pandemic where people needed a life preserver
Oh man,
and they needed
perfect,
an
perfect timing.
opportunity. Yeah, so we got lucky.
Mhm.
That platform has paid millions and millions and millions of dollars to creators all over the world, which is like my most excited sort of
I could tell.
metric from that. It's
Yeah.
because it's helped people build new houses. It's helped people
Yeah.
afford new cars. It's changed families. And it happened again, just thinking about how we could be a value or service to this user, to this sort of client. And I've met some of the coolest people that do all sorts of radical things all over the world, whether it's driving huge monster trucks or doing, magic online and offline,
Yeah.
tricks and such, musicians, DJs. Um, yeah, it's been a blast. So we're excited about that platform.
Mhm.
And
So
again,
when you
go ahead.
talk about removing the stigma, though, that's number one. The first thing I'd love for you to elaborate a little bit further on, but also when you mention invite only, how does a person, especially with the startup element to it, what kind of requirements did you want a person to have before they actually got an invite?
Right. So when we do outreach, I
Mhm.
have different employees that go out and they're identifying who would be a good fit. So typically that threshold is 10,000 followers across all their platforms combined or
Oh, okay.
one specific platform.
Mhm.
Um, obviously we can't we they shouldn't be doing adult content or anything that's violating policies.
Right.
And other than that, they should have an open mind. They should be interested in monetizing. They should be interested in becoming a creator entrepreneur hybrid because that's what we manufacture. That's what we help
Right.
people become. I say manufacture, I mean, that's really what we train and teach.
Right.
So there's one way that somebody can join is by being tapped on the shoulder or reached out to by our internal department.
Hmm.
The other way is once somebody is an active creator, we do have a referral program. So we pay 5% for life on all gross volume generated by an existing creator that invites another creator. So
Hmm.
that's how we were able to really kind of multiply was, hey, we got some folks in, some creators in. We taught them how to sign up, set up, how to
Hmm.
launch, how to create new subscriber acquisition and grow their personal brands. And then we just basically had them teach others
Right.
and earn as another business venture, essentially driving traffic into that to earn, you know, monthly recurring revenue just for inviting somebody to teach them how to earn for
Right.
themselves. So it's a great offer. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's really the two ways that we've grown. And then if somebody applies, we'll approve every once in a while, like we'll go through and approve some folks,
Hmm.
but we probably disapprove 85-90% of people that apply.
Right. And that to me that's important as well because it's not for everybody and the platform is important because like you kind of hang your hat on is you want that human element to it. You don't want it
Mm,
to be something where people are online, something goes wrong, they can't get a call. I remember a friend of mine who lost his Facebook account and is like, try getting somebody on Facebook on the phone from Facebook on the phone. It just isn't going to
good luck.
happen.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing all this up because also in your current situation, you're also looking to do a lot of bigger deals with the government and, doing a lot of things with the government in Indiana. Can you speak on how the parallels and the connection between some of the things that you're learning with these government contracts with true fans and how they're kind of aligning in the way that what you're learning from seeking that to when you're continuing to build this, how does this sort of cross over?
Yeah. So, since leaving the military, I've been on this linear path of skill development. And
Hmm.
I've been developing skills by failing enthusiastically forward, solving problems, and
Sir.
better understanding how to
Hmm.
adapt from different situations. So, what's happened is I've developed a lot of skill in bringing projects to life. So, if somebody knows the what they're trying to do, the why they want to do it, and the ideal result they're aiming for, I can help them do that and bring that to life in a
Mm.
tech app, a SaaS. Maybe
Right.
it's a cloud-based solution. So doing it myself and bringing my own things to life and generating millions of dollars, paying out millions of dollars globally,
Hmm.
um, you know, stacking evidence that I, in fact, can be a software development company owner
Hmm.
and build really great things that help people. That stacked evidence, I guess, is stacked enough where I gave myself permission to start exploring opportunities to solve problems for the federal government or for the state.
Yes.
So that's really kind of how it's all interconnected, and there's so many problems and potential opportunities
Right.
and different sort of focal points that our federal government has in different, whether you're talking about NASA, whether you're talking about the DoD, whether you're talking about there's so many different three-letter agencies and agencies in general that have small problems and then large problems.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from accounting, so like defense, finance, and accounting services.
Mm-hmm.
Just found this out last week. They have approximately like 7 to 10% unknown line items when somebody does their
Oh
defense
my goodness.
travel systems.
Yeah.
So when they're going out and they're submitting their travel pay, they allot for 7% to be inaccurate or unknown. And to
Hmm.
me, like that's, if we could solve that,
Right.
then that's 7% of taxpayers' dollars that goes to work or gets deployed correctly
Oh my
versus
goodness.
being accounted for as a failure, right? Or chalk it up as a loss.
Right.
So there's many of those different circumstances, and now being involved in some of those uh, conversations is fun, and I think that we can do a good job. I
Mm-hmm.
guess if I can go down this rabbit hole, it's
Yeah, go ahead.
challenging. There's two major challenges. The first challenge that I think is a national issue is that it's very hard for a capable company to become certified and to become listed to do business with the government, whether you're talking about on SAM or
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about GSA to be actually on the exchange.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. It's an uphill battle. You should position your mind so to be at it for a year or more,
Mm-hmm.
just because there's a lot of loopholes and bureaucracies. And then the second hard part is getting an opportunity to do business and create the relationships necessary and develop your capabilities, right? And get a chance at bat. It's another really hard uphill battle. There is definitely money to be earned in it. There's definitely plenty of problems, but those are two like, big issues that I hope we look at like at a national level to solve because there's a lot of really great providers across the country.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of them choose not to do business with the government because of some of these things that I'm mentioning. And
Right.
that's just a shame, man. Like
It
as
is a lot
Americans.
of it's a lot. I mean, just the sounding of it and the amount of, like you said, loopholes that you're gonna have to jump through to get someone to at least have a conversation with someone. It's a whole lot of work, and you have to have certain things proven. Not to say that I'm against work or anything like that, but when it comes to what you specifically want to do, your goal is to be running your business and be, actually be profitable and all that, and not necessarily have to be chasing the government around for meetings and stuff like that. And this is why, your what you're doing is so important because to me, it kind of takes a legwork out of a lot of things that your typical business owner wouldn't want to have to deal with. And I
Mm.
bring that up because I want to kind of give you the opportunity now to talk about what's next. What do you see as the future? How do you see this whole thing playing out if you can have it your way in terms of what your vision is?
Yeah, I think so. One thing that I'm actively doing is I just pray in the morning, Lord, help me connect to the right people you want me to connect with.
Yes,
Help
yes,
help these doors open up the way that that you want them to open up. Doors
hmm,
that glorify you through
yes,
these gifts and talents and skills that you gave me. I'm just a steward, man. So
yes.
truly it's less of like this defined plan and more so just like open and receptive to where my skills get used and where I'm called to be. It's more spirit led versus, Tim led.
Yeah, I mean
And
that brings me to my favorite verse, man. Colossians 3:23. Do all your work unto God and not
mm,
unto man. Do
yeah.
everything on the God because now you got me in preacher mode now. So understand that God is going to build so much for you if you put your trust in him. If you try to,
Mm,
and I love the way you mentioned it's not Tim led, it's God led, it's spiritual led. If you truly believe in your business, you truly want to be great, understand that God is going to be the one that really takes things to the next level. As humans, we can do only so much. Put our heart and soul into things. Eventually, you just got to walk with faith and develop that walk of faith. So, thank you
mm.
for bringing that up. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah, man. And it's new, I did everything on my own for the longest time, and I wore that stress and I wore those, the solutions, right? Everything was meant, it was up to me.
You're right.
And until I really started realizing that, I think you have like, I hope everybody has like a humbling experience where they reach exactly where they want to be, and then they start auditing or they start questioning,
Hmm.
like questioning the void if there is one, right? Like just be aware that there's other operating systems out there. So I found that being a disciple
Hmm.
and praying and having that community of
Hmm.
faith-based brothers, sisters in Christ,
Right.
that is good and it's wholesome and I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I've been pursuing success my whole life, what I thought was success.
Right.
And I think it's changed for sure. I mean, if I'm aligned with my gifts in stewardship,
Yeah.
then that to me is fulfilling and that to me is right. And that's kingdom work versus worldly work.
Yes.
And it takes faith, but I'm at a whole different level. I'm on a whole new place than I used to be, man. And I'm so thankful for it. And,
Wonderful.
again, I don't know what doors are going to open up.
Hmm.
Um, but I'll do my best to, again, be a disciple, be thankful no matter what.
Hmm.
And it's an exciting thought.
Yes. And what's when it comes to getting in touch with you, if anyone's out there listening and they want to work with you, where do you normally send them?
Yeah, so there's so timbranyan.com. You can find me on most social media platforms, Tim Branyan. And then if they're in Indiana, there's a bunch of resources here. We could chat on that. So that
Hmm.
Small Business Development Center is this kind of new thing that I started doing about a year and a half ago. Um, just to explain to everybody, if they're not familiar with SBDCs, the Small Business Development Center is a national organization, and their mission is to help entrepreneurs and essentially create economic development through the support of small business and a variety of different services or resources. So it could be everything from setting up a business plan to getting access to capital
Hmm.
to having somebody sit down and help you with QuickBooks to grants and various opportunities that happen all around the country.
Right.
That's been just a fun way to align with some of the gifts and things that skills that I've developed. So what I was talking to you about before the show even started, man, Google SBDC near me,
SBC.
and yeah, SBDC near me, and from there you can likely get connected to your sort of entrepreneurial ecosystems or economic development groups in your hometown,
Hmm.
and just a lot of doors that could open up. One thing I always tell people, you can never go wrong being super cool with people,
No.
and
Yeah.
you can't really go go
Right.
wrong developing relationships and
Hmm.
network with other builders and entrepreneurs. A lot of great things can happen when the right people congregate. So,
Especially when you're talking economic development and, not to make light of what's going on now, but we see this hurricane coming.
mm,
My prayers to anyone that is being affected by it, or by the time this has been affected by it, but there's always going to be that need for a philanthropic spirit. There's always going to be the need of entrepreneurs who are kind of have a philanthropic mindset to where something like this happens. It's unfortunate, but we need people who are there to help. We need people that have a coming from a really good place, because it's tough. It's a tough. There's people out there who are just living their life, right? Homes been there for decades, and all of a sudden they
mm,
just got to reboot. And unfortunately, because the way the system works, they're going to lose everything. The house is not going to be rebuilt, because it's not going to be the thing that's really, they were kind of in the forgotten corners of the world. So, keep doing the work you're doing, brother. I'm so super pumped to have you on. Super pumped to kind of stay in touch with you and keep up with your journey and all that good stuff. So, the final thing I do to close out all the shows, Tim, is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. Pretend you are back in your first business days, and just pretend Mark Zuckerberg give you a shout and said, "Hey, man." Cool thing that you're doing, but it needs to be shut down immediately. All right. Pretend that version of Tim has come into the Zoom room, and we'll give him some words of encouragement, and we'll officially close.
yeah, I would tell that Tim that just the reminder that restlessness and discontent is often the start to change,
Mm.
um, and that uh, obstacles can provide you strength, and climbing obstacles can give you new perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that you have to go through this, it's you get to go through this.
That's it.
And if you can be prayerful in those moments, those triggering points where life's got you down, that something didn't work out, uh, something is tough, and you can say, good, thank God for things.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really great philosophy to help you continue on.
That's it, man. That's it. Again, if you are a first-time listener, the reason I close out the show with that is I want you guys to understand that if that is you that I was describing, we're here to help you. That's been the guarantee, the promise of the show since its inception. We're here to, talk to you guys about whatever the challenges, whatever the obstacles are you're going through. You're not going through it alone. So, all that being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.